Are you an artist who hates AI? Well, this video is for you. You're not alone because many artists out there are furious at AI. They hate AI for quote-unquote stealing their art and copying their styles. Well, did you know there's actually a few ways to fight back? You can kind of change your images so that us humans won't be able to notice the difference, but it'll actually protect the image's style from being copied. I'll also show you how you can use your images to actually poison any AI bots that are trying to scrape your images and train on your images. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Let's jump right in. First, let's cover the fundamentals. You need to understand that the way we humans see an image is very different from how AI interprets an image. So for this image, for example, humans see it as, the Mona Lisa or a portrait of a woman smiling. But the way AI sees it is not really a woman smiling or the Mona Lisa. It's more like it just sees a bunch of pixels in this XY space. And the way these pixels are organized in this space will help it determine what it is. So if we can somehow change the image slightly so that we don't notice it, so that humans still see this portrait of Mona Lisa, but it throws the AI off, the AI won't be able to interpret it, then that's basically the fundamentals behind the tools I'm sharing with you today. So the first tool is called Glaze, which I'll link to in the description below. This is a defensive way to protect your images from AI. And how this works, like I explained earlier, is that it does some minimal changes to your art so that it appears unchanged to us humans, but to an AI, it appears like a dramatically different art style. So you can see here's the before. This is the original artwork, and then here's the after. Here's the glazed artwork. We can't really tell a difference with our naked eyes, but for the AI, this is a completely different image than this. Now, you apply this glaze step after you finished the image and before you upload it online. So this is the final step before you share your artwork to the internet. Now, this is completely free to use, and you can download Glaze and run it on your computer. However, it does require an NVIDIA CUDA GPU. So it says here, if you run a Mac or an older PC or a non-NVIDIA GPU, or one of these older NVIDIA GPUs, it's not going to work. So they also offer an online way for you to use Glaze, which is called WebGlaze. It's going to be invite only, and to access WebGlaze, you simply click on this WebGlaze item in the menu. And then there are instructions on how you can request an account and then how you can sign in. You basically DM the folks at Twitter or Instagram to ask for an invite. Since I do have an NVIDIA GPU, I'm going to download it locally. So we just need to go to the download section and then download Glaze. And then we scroll all the way down to select the appropriate version. I'm using Windows, so I'm going to click on this. And we'll save it to our temp folder. Notice for the Windows, it's 2.7 gigabytes, so it's going to take a while to download.
2,000 years later.
Alright, finally we have our Glaze zip file downloaded, so I'm going to open this and basically extract this Glaze folder. So you can extract this wherever you want, but I'm just going to put this back into the original temp folder. So again, it's over like 2.4 gigabytes, so it's going to take a while to extract. Alright, afterwards, we can double-click into this folder and then scroll all the way down until you see glaze.exe. We double-click on this, and then the first time you open this, it's going to download even more resources, so 3 gigabytes. So yeah, make sure you have enough room on your computer to handle all of this. Alright, so while this is downloading, I can kind of define these settings. So the first setting you see here is called intensity. So this basically defines how much you want to glaze the image. If you set this to the highest amount, it could introduce artifacts to your image that's noticeable to the naked eye, which is, of course, what you don't want, right? You want to subtly change the image so that humans won't notice it, but it will throw the AI off. So generally, it's best to keep this at default, but the advantage of setting this to high is it's really going to obscure your image, and the AI that's scraping and training on your data is going to have a very hard time copying the style of your image. Generally, it's best to just keep this at default. Now, render quality, it's pretty self-explanatory, so duration spent glazing the art. So if you set this all the way to slowest, it's going to give you more protection, but it's going to take a longer time rendering it. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to set this as faster. So I'm going to wait for all of this to download first before we plug an image in here to run.
One eternity later.
Alright, so my internet connection was super slow. It took like 5 to 10 minutes to download all the resources, but once you're done, you're basically good to go. So all you need to do is, once you've finished drawing your piece of art, and this image is by WLOP, shout out to her for her awesome artwork. Once you've completely finalized your image, the last step is to plug it into Glaze. So all you need to do is select the image, and then you can also batch select multiple images if you want. And then choose the intensity, choose the render quality, and then when you click Save As, you can choose what folder you want to save this into. So for simplicity, we can just save this into the temp folder, and then click Run Glaze. Alright, and if it's a success, you're going to see this message, Glaze succeeded, glazed images saved at your output folder. So if we open our temp folder, you can see indeed, here's the original image, here's the glazed image. So let's open both of them side by side so you can see the difference. So the one on the left is the original image, the one on the right is the glazed image. You can see there are a few artifacts, so like her face, there's a lot more noise in the glazed image compared to the original image, but you can adjust the intensity and the duration if you want to reduce these artifacts. But you know, overall from far away, it's really hard to tell the difference. So yeah, this is basically all there is to glazing an image. Again, glazing is a defensive measure. You are protecting your artwork and your style from being copied from an AI scraper. However, if you want to go a more offensive approach, then you can use this other software called Nightshade, which is also developed by the same team. Now, instead of just changing the image so that the style won't be copied, Nightshade actually transforms your image into a completely different object, at least to the AI. In contrast with Glaze, which, like I said, is a defensive measure to protect your art's style from being copied, Nightshade is an offensive tool that basically poisons the AI bots that are trying to scrape your image. And how this works is, again, it subtly changes your image so that us humans won't be able to notice the difference, but the AI sees a dramatically different composition. So, for example, to the human eyes, we might see an image of a cow in a green field, but after you apply the Nightshade, the AI will see something like a large leather purse lying in the grass. So it changes the object completely, at least to the AI. So again, to run Nightshade on your computer, you will need an NVIDIA CUDA GPU, which is listed on this list. I'll link to this page in the description as well. Your GPU must have more than 4 GB of GPU memory. This also works with Apple's M1, M2, and M3 processors. For users who don't have a CUDA GPU or an M1, M2, M3 processor, well, you're out of luck for now, but they are working to integrate Nightshade into the WebGlaze web service, which again is invite only, and you need to DM them on Twitter and Instagram to get a login. I have a RTX 2080 Ti, so I'll be able to use this. So to download it, again, simply go to the download tab and then scroll all the way down and select the appropriate version.
One eternity later.
Alright, I've downloaded the zip file into my computer. So same thing with Glaze, I'm gonna unzip this and then extract the Nightshade folder to wherever you want. In my case, I'm gonna extract it back into the parent folder. Again, this is like 2.6 gigabytes, so it's gonna take a few minutes for this to extract everything. Alright, once that's done, we can open the folder and then scroll all the way down until you see nightshade.exe. We'll double click to run this, and then that's pretty much it. Here's your Nightshade window. It's very similar to the Glaze user interface. Now, the first time you install this, it's going to check for resources, and then it's going to install like 4 gigabytes of additional resources that you need. Since I've installed Glaze, there is some overlap in the resources, so it's not going to install the full 4 gigabytes. Now, same settings as the Glaze settings, the intensity is how much night shading do you want? How much poison do you want to inject in your image to throw the AI off? So if you set this to the highest amount, then it's going to be a lot of poison. It's going to really mess the AI up. But at the same time, it might introduce artifacts to your image that are noticeable to the naked eye. So for this example, I'm going to leave it at low. And then render quality is the same thing. So the slower the render time, the stronger the poison. But of course, it's going to take more time to process. For this tutorial, I'm just going to set it to the fastest speed. And then for the output folder, as before, we can just select our parent temp folder. So I'm just going to wait for all the resources to finish downloading before we upload our image.
One eternity later.
Alright, so once you see that all the resources have finished downloading, then we can upload our image. I'm going to use the same WLOP image, and then let me just adjust the windows here. So the WLOP image looks like this. Now, the final step that you need to do is actually describe what is in the image. What is a single word that you can use to describe the image? Actually, if you go back to the Nightshade website and then user's guide, and then scroll all the way down to step 4, select poison tag, it gives you more details on what word you should select. But really quickly, the key to choosing the right tag is picking a single term that best describes the image. For example, a photo of a girl in a forest should probably just be tagged girl. So in our case, you can either choose like girl or angel because she has wings. I'm just gonna write girl here. And that's pretty much it. This is also, by the way, an optional step. So you can see that before it defaulted to wings as the tag. So if you think that wings is a good enough one-word description of this photo, then you can just leave it. But I think girl is better in this case because, it's a girl in the image and not just the wings. So after that, we are good to go. Let's click Run Nightshade. And if all goes well, you should be able to see this success message, Nightshade successful. Shaded images saved in output folder. So if we open our temp folder, you can see the nightshaded image here. So let me open this. So again, we can compare side by side. You can see from an initial look, it does add more like graininess and noise to the image. And if you zoom in, you can see it is a bit more pixelated and noisy compared to the original image. So again, there are artifacts to this depending on the settings that you use. But if you zoom out, then these artifacts are barely noticeable to the naked eye. And so what night shading does is, if an AI looks at the original image, it can see that, oh, it's a girl with wings and there's a broken mirror. But because in the nightshade settings, we defined this as a girl, if an AI trains on this image, if it scans this image, it's not going to see a girl. It's probably going to see like an ugly, hairy man in the desert or something, completely different from what we see in the image. So that's the point of night shading. It basically makes the AI interpret the image as something completely different. And finally, you can use both Glaze and Nightshade. So here's the correct procedure according to the developers. Nightshading or poisoning the image is optional, but they would always recommend that you glaze your image. If you want to apply Nightshade, then you should Nightshade it first and then glaze it for protection. But of course, note that if you are altering the images 2 times, then the level of visible artifacts such as noise and pixelation might be higher. But that's pretty much all there is to it. So these are 2 completely free tools that you can use to protect your art or even poison AI from training on your images. If you found this video helpful, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, AI isn't all that bad. There's plenty of cool AI tools that will really 10x your productivity and help you with different aspects of life. So we built a site where you can search for all the AI tools out there. Check it out at ai-search.io.